everybody, thanks for watching Chic on the Cheap. So this week I'm going to teach you how to make this little ballet skirt, or you could also turn it into a tutu if you wanted to make it out of tulle. This is just the easiest way that I found to make an adjustable tutu with a ribbon belt. So I did this using just 1 yard of material, and here's how I did it. First, I took my yard of material and folded it in half. Now this is going to be the end length of the tutu or the skirt. So if you want it to be shorter than this, you can just cut off from the top of both layers until you have it the length that you want. And also, if you want your tutu to be really full, use a couple yards of material. I'm just using 1, and it's going to be kind of more of a ballet skirt than a tutu, but if you're using tulle, use 2 or 3 yards and you'll get a really big poofy tutu. Alright, so from here, I marked off the center of my tutu, and I took just the top layer and put 2 pins. And what I wanted to do here was to add 2 buttonholes just to the top layer, not both layers, just the top layer. Now I could try to explain to you how to use a buttonhole foot, but it's kind of hard to do. The best thing I can tell you to do is get your owner's manual out to your sewing machine, read through it. It's really easy once you kind of get the hang of it. If you don't have your manual to your sewing machine, look up your sewing machine online and you can usually find the instructions there. After you make the 2 buttonholes, take your seam ripper and just cut those holes out so that you're left with 2 open buttonholes, which we're going to use later. Next, take your material and fold it the other way, right sides together, and we're going to stitch a very narrow seam right along those 2 raw edges. So you're going to be left with a big kind of loop of fabric at this point. So flip it inside out, and you should be able to see your 2 buttonholes and then the finished side of that seam that you just sewed. So you've got one big loop of fabric that you've just made. So next we're going to make another seam. This one is going to be a top stitch seam through both layers, and you're going to sew right below those 2 buttonholes. Basically we're making kind of like a place where we can slide our ribbon belt through. You want it to be just kind of like a little place where we can cinch that ribbon through. So top stitch that. Then we've got to sew up the ends of our skirt so we actually have a skirt to work with. So fold your skirt in half horizontally, and you've got, or vertically, excuse me, and then you're going to sew those 2 selvage ends together. Now here's what I have to say: do as I do, or do as I say and not as I do. Sew that seam only up to that first belt loop seam that you made. Don't sew all the way to the top, because if you do that, you won't have a complete loop to thread your ribbon through. So only sew up to that first seam and then thread your ribbon through. And once you have your ribbon threaded through that top belt loop that we made, then as you see, here's what I did. You can go back and pinch it together on both sides and just top stitch it shut, if that makes sense. If you sew all the way up like I did, you won't be able to do it. So here's what you have after you sew that seam and sew the 2 ends together. It's one big giant skirt. Now we want to cinch it up with a ribbon belt. So take a ribbon, put a safety pin on the end of it, and then just thread it through your belt loops all the way around the skirt and out the other belt loop, and then all you have to do is cinch it up, pull it tight, and you've got entire ribbon and you've got your tutu. Now the great thing about this tutu is because it has a ribbon belt, it's adjustable, so it can be tightened or loosened depending on how the child grows or how they want it to fit. This is just a really easy way to make a little tutu or ballet skirt out of a scrap of material, and I hope you've enjoyed it and learned something, and please join me right back here next week for more money saving ideas.